We have been discussing about the Satipatthana meditation technique. We have been discussing about the Satipatthana meditation technique, which is very useful. It is related to the living at the moment as well. However, today we are going to expand our discussion into another area, which is somewhat related to the being aware, but it has its own advantages. Sabbāsava Sutta. Buddha has told us about the 7 methods that can be applied to reduce Āsava. Āsava is basically a certain form of, we can say, bad trends, or it can create bad actions, but itself is in a more or less inert situation inside our mind. When the opportunity arises, this Āsava will get activated, and that can cause damage to our mental development. Actually, process of controlling Āsava is very useful, because under normal circumstances they are hidden in our mind. There are some similarities between the emotions which we speak in the modern world, but they are not identical. We can learn from one to the other. But what I think is, our focus has to be placed on Āsava, which will help us to eliminate the wrong actions. What are these 7 Āsavas? I may not go in the particular order, but I think how to overcome it will depend on our mental development and the situations we face. One of them is quite simple. According to the historical knowledge we have, if we face a situation that will create unaccepted behavior from us, maybe fear, maybe anger, or maybe lust even, Buddha advises us to eliminate facing such incidents. It's very simple. It does not involve deep meditation. It's a knowledge-based technique, which I think is easy to practice, but we have to know what are the situations that cause this attachment or aversion inside our mind. As an example, if there is a fearful situation due to a bomb explosion, which we hear quite frequently these days, some people would like to go and see it, but that will risk your life. So Buddha very simply says, if such a threat is there, avoid it. So if there is a wild elephant who can damage us, do not go closer to it. Similarly, suppose there is a meeting which is likely to cause anger in your mind, or there is a party where you will have a tendency to take liquor. Avoid those things. So it's a very simple technique, which I think, depending on our past behavior, we take a simple decision to avoid such situations. In fact, Buddha has asked monks to not to go into the villages too early, because the situations they see in the villages can distract them. People may not be dressed properly. And he has also told Ananda Thero, if possible, avoid meeting or seeing even ladies. So this is a very simple technique, which I think does not require very high level of meditation, but a simple knowledge on the trends that you are having. Avoidance. That is at one end. But on the other hand, there is another very advanced way of eliminating these tendencies called Āsava. That is by seeing. Seeing means that if you develop your mind and if you become Arahat, then Dassana Pahatabba. Then you don't have to worry about the tendencies you have, past tendencies. Because you cannot get into, Arhats can't fall into particularly the Āsava. They have eliminated it by uprooting the main root. Of course, partial results can be obtained by entering into the Sohan state, but that's not the complete stage. So when you are in the noble path, very strong tendencies will come under control. When you become Arahat, all the tendencies will come under control. So Darsana Pahatabba in broadly addresses this high level of solution, where you eliminate your Āsava or bad tendencies hidden inside in a normal person's mind by achieving your goals in the path. So these two cases are quite simple. But there are 5 more. So the second one, which I have mentioned, is our final goal. First one is a technique that anyone can adopt, but you have to have the knowledge and the self-control. There are few other cases which comes under in-between stages according to my view. Bhavana. You practice. You practice your mental development. So when you are engaged in your the practices related to mental development, what can happen? Then tendencies of arising Āsava into active state will be reduced, because it is suppressed by doing the actions that are supposed to calm your mind. Actually, Buddhist meditation technique of higher level is definitely useful at this stage. But on the other hand, some of the meditation techniques adopted by even the non-Buddhist can be sometimes useful according to my opinion. So, if you are capable of keeping your mind on a single object, then the likely chance of you get distracted will be reduced. Of course, higher level of target like Bojjhanga is quite useful, but that is left for Buddhist meditators of higher caliber. After going through a serious level of mental development. So Bojjhanga is generally useful, but Bhavana includes a wide spectrum of meditation techniques. We are not going to elaborate on it today, but we all know we have practiced some of the posture meditation technique here. Similarly, breathing meditation and various other meditation techniques, metta meditation, and so on. So I think meditation practice will allow us to keep our mind unshaken in in the environments which can create, uprise your Āsava. So this technique is called Bhavana Pahatabba, or eliminate by meditation. So we have discussed about three of the, particularly the factors that Buddha had taught us. I'm not going through the order, but I'm just trying to explain some of the concepts the way I think, which is easier to remember for a layman. You must have heard, before taking meals or dana, monks generally mention, or probably they are supposed to do and they are doing, the recalling of the purpose of eating. This food is meant for keeping the life, and so on. So identification of this purpose will be helpful to reduce the attachment towards the food. So if you identify the purpose of doing activities, that is a very powerful tool to eliminate. I don't think it can eliminate, but to actually reduce the tendency of getting attachment or aversion. So if you can't avoid the situation, you have to get prepared to it. So you prepare in advance and face the situation. I think this technique can have different type of application in our day-to-day life. So if you are going for a meeting where you know that it's going to be hostile, then you can be prepared by practicing metta. So that will help you to control yourself. So if you are going for a place where you are likely to get attached, by proper preparation, then you may be able to control the uncontrolled attraction that can occur. This is one of the other, particularly the methods of reducing our chances of uprising of Āsava. One of the other techniques is to practice patience. I think under normal circumstances, when we get a pain, physical pain, we may cry, We may cry loudly. Or we may suffer internally. Practicing of patience does not mean that pain will not be there. Pain will be there. But you get used to it. You can absorb it. This is applicable for physical pain as well as mental pain. So, if you get used to absorb it stage by stage, then the task becomes simple. I think even the people in the forces are trained to do that. Even you are doing weightlifting, you start with a lower load and you can gradually increase that. Similarly, your body muscles can get adjusted to the pain if it is practiced in a certain systematic manner. Similarly, incident you face that creates mental pain also can be handled by gradual training. So becoming patient is another powerful technique that Lord Buddha or Buddha had taught us. Other than that, there are two other methods. What are they? Actually, one of them is related to identifying the thought processes arising in your mind. This is more crucial because actually when we say Atapi Sampajano Satima, this is the property that which we try to particularly address. Your thoughts, some thoughts can be harmful. You know, if a thought is backed by attraction or aversion, that can cause harm for spiritual development, mental development. So if you can identify it quite early, the chance of controlling it is easy. This is the function that which we are looking at. Samma Sankappa. In fact, second step of our Eightfold Noble Path, where you identify the cause of, you identify the bad trends at the time of early development and then control them. So it's very important to know that this technique has a direct application to Eightfold Noble Path and to our Satipatthana meditation technique. Other technique is a very powerful technique which we have discussed in several discussions some time back. Indriya Samvara, or control our sense inputs. This is somewhat related to the advice given by Buddha to Bahya Daruchirya. When we take our inputs from eye, ear, nose, tongue and body, we form symbols. Actually, most serious level of our aversion and attraction is called by manipulating these symbols. So, Indriya Samvara procedure is to adopt formation of objects, formation of symbols. When we are being told Dakkot Dakka Pamanai, or probably seeing ends at the eye, don't proceed with forming symbols on it, then our attraction towards the symbols and our aversion towards the symbols will not occur. So these are basically the 7 Āsava controlling techniques Buddha had taught. I think depending on our mental stage and depending on the situation, we have to combine them in an intelligent way. Some of them are just technique that address basically the knowledge driven methods. Dasana, or probably which is closer to liberation, is a very advanced one. So we have to adopt it after getting into the path. We cannot do it before that. So when we are progressing in our mental development, we have to be aware about the situations and select suitable method according to our mental state. What you have to remember is techniques told in the Sutta are very closely related to the path which you are supposed to go also. We are supposed to follow. So initially, we may have to be satisfied with what we can do at that stage. But as time goes on, we have to develop the higher skills and progress accordingly. I think this topic will require more deeper analysis and the discussion, and we'll get into that in the future. We'll stop here.